Hey, this is Dr. Willie Jolley, and I want to welcome you to the Jolly Good News Report. And I want to let you know you have only just a minute, only 60 seconds in it. It's forced upon you. You can't refuse it. You didn't seek it. You didn't choose it. But it's up to you to use it. You must suffer if you lose it. Give account if you abuse it. Just a tiny little minute, but your eternities are wrapped up in it. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Jolly Good News Report. Oh, what a beautiful morning. Oh, what a beautiful day. Oh, what a wonderful feeling. Everything's going our way. Why is that? Because we are here in the land of the living. We're still here. We're still here. That's a big deal. You don't believe it? Try missing a day. Or go over to the local cemetery and try and talk to the people there and see if it's not true that some of them would say, yeah, I'll replace where I am with where you are gladly. So be grateful for every day, every moment, every opportunity that you get another shot to be here. So we want to celebrate being here. We want to celebrate this week because this has been it's been a lot going on this week, but it's good news in this week. And I'm going to give you some good news to help you to grow and go to the next level. So I'm excited about it. I'm excited about it. I'm excited about it. Now, let me ask you a question here. If you had a friend who had some really good information that you would really like to know, would you want that friend to call you, to reach out to you, to share that information with you? Huh? Would you? The answer, of course, is yes. Of course you would. Of course you would. Well, I'm going to have some good news for you today. And I'm going to have some good information for you. Wouldn't you want your friends to know about it if it was really going to make them better and have greater impact on their life? Wouldn't you? Yeah. The answer is yes. So here's what I want you to do. Start a watch party right now. Start a watch party. Send an email. Send a text. Send a little smiley faces so people will know what's going on. Share the link. Just get the word out right now. Say, oh my goodness, you got to turn on Jolly Good News right now with Dr. Willie Jolley because he's got some information and some inspiration to help you through the week. And I'm telling you, folks, I've got some good news for you. I got some good news for you. First of all, I want to give you the stat of the week. Every week I give you a good news stat of the week. Now, you know, if you go to traditional news, you're going to get how many people got infected this week with the virus, how many people died, but you're not going to get that here. Oh, no. Nothing but good news, nothing but good news. And the good news I want to share with you is that this week, we hit a new milestone. 5 million people. 5 million people have recovered from this virus globally and are home with their families. 5 million. That's good news. Everybody give a shout for good news. Yeah. Now, I want to encourage you to keep doing what we talked about at the first one. We've been doing this now. I think this is my 11th or 12th week of doing these Jolly Good News reports. I started with doing the coronavirus when it first jumped off because I said it's a time for some good news. We're in a time when people have so much bad news and sad news and depressing news. It makes you despondent. You need some good news. So I said, I'm going to start doing good news. I'm doing something with good news. Jolly Good News. Jolly Good News. My nonprofit organization is called the jollygoodnews.org. jollygoodnews.org. Go check it out. And we put things to help people there. Well, we want to do the same here. Have good news. And that's why we placed this within the Jolly Good News Facebook page. So, you know, somebody who's struggling with cancer, send them to Jolly Good News. We got an interview on that website where I interviewed 2 people who beat cancer, stage 4. One had pancreatic and one had throat cancer. They beat it and tell how they did it in a new and incredible ways with not using we're not talking about just doctors and medicine. That's very helpful and we recommend it. But beyond that, they did some things that were amazing with mindset and with positive attitude and energy. And they beat it. One has the one with pancreatic, she's 14 years cancer-free, only takes a baby aspirin. And the one who had throat cancer, he's about 10 years cancer-free. Amazing stories. And then we've talked about others who beat cancer and other illnesses. Go to jollygoodnews.org and become part of our community. And if you like, be a partner. Because we want to take this message that we're doing now. How, if you've seen my new improved my surroundings, well, we're going to keep improving. We're going to keep doing more stuff because we want to take this from just here on this platform to more platforms for television and to new platforms. And so I'm going to need partners like you to help me to do that, because we want to change the world with good news. All right, so we had the stat of the day. Last week we talked about New Zealand was the first country to become totally coronavirus free. And last week they were able to go out for the first time and not have masks and do social distancing. This week they had a big soccer game or tournament in a 80,000 seat arena, and it was packed. No mask, no social distancing. Everybody was just having a great time. So what good news? That's good news. That's good news. That's good news. So we want to get that here. So I'm encouraging people, please be diligent so that we can crush this virus and we can get on living our life the way we want to live our life. Okay. Now, I've got some good stories and some information. Before I go any further, I want to say Happy Father's Day to everybody who are fathers, every father here. I want to say Happy Father's Day to you. I had the greatest opportunity Thursday night to do a program that was put on by Frank Marshall in Atlanta, Georgia. They call him Uncle Frank. Uncle Frank Marshall put on a Father's Day week, a week of Father's Day and fathers and sons or fathers and daughters programs, father and their children program. And Thursday night, we had the most amazing program. It was a broadcast that featured me and my son, William. My son, William, who, it was just fantastic. Then Joe Dudley, the great iconic entrepreneur, Joe Dudley, and his son, Joe Jr. So we had Joe Dudley Sr. and Joe Dudley Jr. And then we had Velton Showell III and Velton Showell IV. Not only did we were able to tell some of the things we told our sons as they were growing up, things that happened in life lessons and experiences, but they also allowed the sons to talk to us about the impact we have had on them. And that's where the tears came and the fullness in our hearts came, where our sons talked about how much they loved us and appreciated us and respected us for the sacrifices. My son told a great story about when I was on the board of the National Speakers Association. I was the first African American elected to the board, and I was on my way to be first president. But my wife said to me, you know, William mentioned to me the other day that you haven't been able to get to any of his games. Now he was bench warmer, okay? She said, but William mentioned it to me. And I said, check. I resigned from the board of directors. I said, I'm not going to be the first president, black president. I had my time. I was first black president of the local chapter, but this would have been of the national. I said, nope, because my son is more important. Well, William shared that story and how much it meant to him to have me in the stands, even though he said, I'm a bench warmer. He said, I'm a bench warmer. I might have gotten in a couple of times. He said, I think I made one 3-point shot and one layup my whole career, basketball career, but Dad was there for those, because he was willing to sacrifice. And he said something I'll never forget. He wanted everybody, this is for all the fathers. He said, how do we children spell love? T-I-M-E. Time, quality time. So I know we want to make money. We want to supply the needs of the family and support the family, but time with your children. So happy Father's Day. And I'm challenging everybody to make this day an even better day by being committed to be all in with your children to help them become better and grow better. I also want to share one story I shared on the broadcast about my father. Many of you saw the the video I did about the lessons I learned from my father during the 1968 riots, when we went to see the destruction and the people were looting the giant food store. And I said to my dad, hey, look, police have thrown up their hands, said, go and get what you want. And I said, why don't we go and get a cake or pie or something? They're giving it. He said, no. He said, if you didn't pay for it, you can't have it. You don't want it because you don't want to ever compromise your integrity or your character. And I said, but no one will know. He said, we'll know. Character is not for sale, and your character is not for sale for any price, because you're going to be great. And the great ones are always concerned about that. My dad poured that into me at that moment on 14th Street. And I've never forgotten it. And I shared it with William. And so I just think that those moments of lessons from fathers to sons and children to daughters. But I want to tell you one more story about my grandfather. Now, my grandfather, I never met the man. His name was Noble Brooks, my mom's dad. And he was a trustee at Asbury United Methodist Church. I was honored this morning, Friday morning, Juneteenth, Friday morning, to be able to walk and march from Asbury United Methodist Church, 11th and K Street Northwest, to Black Lives Matter Plaza at 16th and at Lafayette Square. That's what it is, 16th and I think that's L Street. But I was able to be there because I was invited. I got an email, and I'll show you a picture from my being there at the Black Lives Matter. And this is me in front of the church where the iconic pictures were taken that have come on to be so horrific, that people who were peacefully protesting were moved away with tear gas so there could be a photo op. So I was able to be at that same place, at that same church. This is my photo op. Black Lives Matter. I can't breathe. And so we marched from Asbury on yesterday morning to Black Lives Matter to the church, where there were speakers, and it was incredible. So I was honored to be back where my grandfather was a trustee. Now, let me tell you the story about my grandfather. I never met my grandfather. He died in 1949 of prostate cancer. And that is why I make a point every year to get prostate exams, not once, usually twice a year, because I do know my grandfather died of prostate cancer. So I want to make sure I'm good, and I make sure to get that test. And then I encourage you to take that test. But I never met my grandfather, but he left a legacy for me that was incredible. When I was a kid growing up at Asbury, I was on the youth council. I was in the choir, and I was an acolyte, an altar boy, and I really was active in the church. And senior members, elderly people would come up to me and say, "You're Noble Brooks's grandson. You never met him, did you?" I said, "No." I said, "Wow, he was one of the greatest men we've ever met. A man of integrity, a man of character, a man who went the extra mile for his children." My grandfather and grandmother divorced when my mother was an infant. She maybe been 2 years old. And my grandmother realized she didn't want to be married anymore. So she left him, she divorced, and she went on with her life. And in time, we had a wonderful relationship with my grandmother. But when she was young, she didn't want to be married at that point. So my grandfather took the task of raising this baby, little girl, by himself. And he sacrificed, he did everything he could to make sure she had a wonderful life, and she did. And put her through college and graduate school. And he was a employee of the railroad. He worked at Union Station in a very unique position for an African American at that time as a administrator. and he was an administrator in the office when that was not a normal place for African Americans. But the director of the whole organization said, there's something about this man's integrity that we have to take advantage of and use and reward. And that's how he got that job. But anyway, my grandfather left me a legacy, that he left a good name. And dads, I want to say to you, I challenge you to leave a good name. Leave a good name. He left a good name. So people would come up to me and say, your grandfather was such a good man. He was an honest man. He was a man of integrity, a character. And if you will be just half the man your grandfather was, you'll be great. So I've always kept that in mind. My dad, the lessons about character and integrity. My grandfather, about leaving a good name and about integrity and character. And every time I go by that church, which I did again this morning, and went by the sign that's in front of the church, is a historical landmark now. It's been deemed a historical landmark. And there's a picture, a church picture back in the 1920s that was taken. And my grandfather's on the front row. And I had never seen him, but every time I walk by, I say, thank you, Granddad. Thank you. So, all right. So look, I got some good news stories for you that I want to share with you. I'm going to share them with you right now, because these are some good news stories. Let's see. Here we go. All right. All right. Here's one, and here's another one. These are stories that I found that were I just thought they were outstanding. I thought they were outstanding. So I'm going to share these stories with you. The first one is about a nurse who created not just a replacement for the N95 mask, but she created a better one than the N95. Her name is Tommy Austin. And as the COVID-19 went around in early April, she realized that many of her nurses on her staff were running out of protective PPE. And she's in San Antonio, Texas. And so she said she had to do something. She said she remembered something her late husband always said: if you can't find something and you can't buy something, you make it. So that's what she did. She has a RN, a PhD, an MBA, and a nurse executive advanced board certification. And so she's a smart woman. So she remembered something her husband had told her about a air conditioner filter being electrostatic. And they were charged with a small bit of electricity, or it had electrical units throughout this electrostatic filter, air filter. And she said she went looking for it and remembered the word electrostatic. She bought the filters, cut the paper and wire frames, and took the materials and started making masks. And she made sure they were safe, which she did her research. And as a medical person, she found out, and she found these masks were incredible. And then she started preparing them. And then they got tested by a lab, only to find out where the N95, which are supposed to be the best, give you 95%. That's why they call them 95. 95% protection. Hers gave 96.5 protection percent. Wow, the lab proved that she had created a better mousetrap. So I want to just celebrate that wonderful lady, Tommy, Tomye Austin in San Antonio. I also want to talk about a couple, and I got to show you their picture because they're such a beautiful couple, and I think they're just delightful. I'm going to share my screen and show you how delightful they are. I hope I can. Okay, here we go. Share the screen. All right. All right. No, that didn't do it. Well, I guess I won't share the screen. I'll tell you who they are. I'll show it to you later. I'm still working through all the technologies. We're working on getting a switcher so I can actually do it right from here. But couple who created a new quiz card game called Sales Rocket during the lockdown. And that earned them $184,000. $184,000. This is a British couple. He's white, she's black, and they created a card game called Shot in the Dark. And they, during the isolation and shutdown of coronavirus, where they were told to stay in, they worked on their marketing and their sales, and they sold almost $200,000 worth of the game in just a few months. So it's been amazing. It reminds me of, in my book, Turn Setbacks into Greenbacks, Mr. Cullen, who in the Great Depression created a game that we all know called Monopoly, and he became a multimillionaire. So I want to applaud the Cullens, Mr. and Mrs. Sanderling, let's see, Mr. Sanderson, Grant and Jordana Sanderson, and I also want to celebrate Miss Tommy. All right, let's get back to the last part of the day's message. So, look, I know that this was Juneteenth. This week we celebrated yesterday, Juneteenth, and I want to say to everybody what a tremendous response I've seen from people with Juneteenth. This was the 155th anniversary of slaves being freed. 155th anniversary, June 19th. Yesterday was 155th anniversary. And it happened that the Emancipation Proclamation was signed on the 1st of January, 1863. And it took 2.5 years to June 19th for the word to get to the last enslaved group of people in Galveston, Texas. And as a result of them getting the good word, they were free. And when they were free, we all became free, or all the black people became free, because until all are free, none are free, actually. And now we are in this time of all the turmoil and upheaval. Until all of America's people matter, then all don't really matter. And until all really matter, all don't really matter. Because this is the home of the brave and the land of the free. Until all are free, none are really, really free. So we are encouraging people, black people, white people, Asian people. I'm so encouraged by all my friends, my white friends who've been calling saying, what can I do? And I say the same thing over and over again. I love the fact you call me. I want you to be an ally, but don't stop there. I want you to be an advocate. There are going to be rooms where you're in where there are no black people. And there are going to be words that are said in those words in those rooms. And there are going to be all sorts of thoughts that are expressed by people when they're in their own surrounding of people who look like them. And that's those days when you say that word is wrong. You can't use that word. Or, no, you're wrong about that. Because we are saying to everybody, and I've been saying to everybody, that this situation is not a battle between black and white. No, it's a battle between right and wrong. And that racism is baked into the American culture, is baked in. And we have to start baking a new culture, creating a new culture. That racism is not a part of the culture. Racism is when you do things that you don't even think, like the lady in Central Park, who, she didn't pre-think about this. She didn't plan this for a week. When she felt threatened, she pulled out her cell phone and said, police, police, an African-American man is berating me, bothering me, harassing me, whatever she said. But whatever she said, she used the term an African-American man. Why wouldn't she just say, hey, this guy is if he had been white, would she have said, a white man is harassing, berating, whatever? No, because it's built in to the culture. She didn't think about it. I bet you if you asked her, she'd say, I'm a liberal. I bet you she'd say it because it's baked into the culture. And so in those moments where it's subconscious almost that you go to a racist, color-based example. So I want to just say to everybody, I am so excited. Now, I had promised you that this week we would do a special show on transformation. And I wanted to get to it, but this Juneteenth, I had forgotten that we had Juneteenth coming up. And I wanted to talk about Juneteenth. And I wanted to make sure we talked about that. I wanted to tell you some of the stories. So I've got a couple things I want to bring up next week. I want to talk about transformation. I got a new music video that I'm going to air. I'm going to air it for all of you to watch and be empowered by and encouraged by. It will bless you. It will have you on your feet. So I want you to make sure to tell everybody next week is a special Jolly Good News Report. New music video is going to be premiered that you're going to love. 2 is I'm going to talk about how to transform your life and rise. Are you ready to rise? Transform your life and rise. So I just want to say a couple things from the show the other night, that Father's Day with Joe Dudley Sr. Joe Dudley Sr., one of the great men who created an empire of hair care products at his kitchen table after he was told by his teachers that he was not smart enough, not good enough, but he would do the things that astounded them because he outworked everybody. I love what he talked about. He said, when I interviewed him for my book, a setback is a setup for a comeback. It's on page 82. If you have the book, turn on to page 82, and Joe Dudley's story is there. And he says this quote, when I interviewed Joe Dudley, he started out by saying, this is hard for me, Brother Willie, because for me to put my story in detail is like trying to put a watermelon in a soda bottle. He was the 5th of 11 children. He was labeled a slow learner. He was retained in the 1st grade. They laughed at him because he had a speech impediment, but he went on to become a multi-millionaire and build an empire where his children now are running it. And they talked about what would have happened if we hadn't had a dad who refused to give up and thought more about us and our future than the pain that he would have to go through to achieve his success. What a great struggle story. Good news. Joe Dudley Sr. Well, my time is up. My friend Devin Stewart has now said he's taking my messaging to Livestream TV. So we got to keep it on a time period because it's going to TV. But what I do want to ask you to do, go to jollygoodnews.org, and become a partner. Because we want to get resources so we can take this to regular TV and to new delivery systems so we can reach more people with good news. Would you do that? So thank you for your time. Thank you for being part of this week's show. Share it with everybody, lottie-dottie and everybody. And remember, your best is still yet to come. This is Dr. Willie Jolley. God bless you.